Incoming transmission from the future. Vancouver AI Community Meetup.
Up next is Manny Axel Strain, who Jesse is about to introduce. Jesse, if you'd like to join me here, that'd be great. Jesse runs 221A, which is a very interesting arts project here in Vancouver. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about it, but they've got grand visions. And so come right up here with me, sir. After last month when we had a fucking 2.5-hour packed program and this place was so sweaty that everyone wanted to rip their clothes off, I was like, we're going to cancel the whole program next time. We're only going to network and eat food. That's all we're going to do. Jesse emails me like 2 weeks ago. He talked to me about Manuel. And I was like, dude, we got to put the program back together just for this or whatever. And so thanks for reaching out to me, bro. I really respect what you guys are doing. I'm happy to watch your successes and the encroachment you're making towards your dreams. And just really happy you're here. You're welcome to introduce yourself, talk about what you're up to, introduce our speaker. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Long-time observer, but first-time meetup. So nice to meet you all, and thanks for giving me the stage. So 221A, so we're an artist organization, cultural organization. We've got about 9 facilities across the city, mostly supporting studio spaces, galleries, cultural spaces, education spaces. Ethos Lab is in one of our buildings. We look after artist housing in some ways. Yeah, they're one of our subtenants, so we're glad to work with Antonia for the past couple years. And, you know, we've been working really around infrastructure for about 10 years now. I'm the head of digital strategy, so that means we've been moving into digital infrastructure and thinking about what that means. So we're on a fair data mission. FAIR is an equitable, but FAIR is also an acronym for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data. And so that's what we need to be doing with our cultural data. Give it identity, give it transactional capacity, give it rights, let it live in the world, let the robots do what they want to do with it. So we're really kind of AI positive in that space. And one of the things we're doing is we're building a partnership with an accelerator program called Brink. You might have seen some announcements over the spring, summer, but we're just about to announce our first cohort for a Fair Data Accelerator group. And that should come out sometime in October. There'll be future cohorts if you've got ideas and projects to pitch, so come towards us. But that's usually somewhere between 150K to 250K in pre-seed funding to get your project going, and then they've got a global syndicate to kind of hook you up after that. So if you have questions about that program, come find me after. But the reason I wanted to kind of come to the event tonight was to share Manuel's project, and it's something that he told me about probably a couple months ago. And then when I first heard about it, I was like, you know what, we should probably go to this thing that Chris is doing, just lay the ideas down and kind of see who comes forward. So I won't say too much more about it, but I will introduce Manuel. And Manuel Axel Strain, all pronouns, is a two-spirit artist from the lands and the waters of the Musqueam, sənáḥw, and səlilwətaЛ people. Their practice braids family memory, land-based ceremony, and anti-colonial aesthetics to reimagine how we relate across beings and systems. So please join me in welcoming Manny to the stage.
Thank you, Jesse. Hello, everyone. Siam Nastiaya Anta Sukas Manuel Axel Strain, Sənáḥw Musqueam, Chuchua and Paclitaxel. So I just said in the downriver dialect of Hunkaminam my name, and that I'm from Musqueam, Simk, and in Paclitaxel. So I just wanted to share as well where we are today is near a place called sənáḥw. Sənáḥw has been the name of this place for a long time. Musqueam, Squamish, and səlilwətaЛ people have traveled and used this area for a long time. And now we have a new village, the Squamish village being built over there. I always think it's funny to think of those giant towers as a village. And I'm very grateful to be here today. I'm an artist. I work with all sorts of different mediums. I'm also the co-artistic director of the Vines Art Society. And today I'm here to share my idea with you all and see if anyone can help, because I need all the help to do this. It's a rather ambitious project, but I'll give a little bit of history about my connection to AI over the past few months before I go into that. So I wonder if we could show some of the pictures.
Manny, I'm sorry. So we have your images, but they're in whatever order they're in. And
we'll go with that. They're whatever order we're in. It's I really love the excitement of not knowing. I think I imagine everyone here does too, and that's why we're all here, part of this AI community, because it's like, what's going to come out next, right? What's it going to say? Well, I'll share a little bit of the story. So I'm going to share with you some very sacred information and knowledge. But I'll start by thinking about the different parallels we're living in right now. As we started the show, we had a welcome from someone from the Squamish First Nation. And that's an act that has been done long before settler people came here to create good relations with each other. We raise our hands and we welcome each other. And that creates a shared economy of sharing resources and having good relations. We do have an image up, but I'll keep going. So what we're seeing today, especially here in the context of this unsettled, unceded land, is a resurgence of Indigenous knowledge systems. In addition to that, we're having this sort of new moment of this AI revolution. So these moments are happening together at the same time. But what's really interesting is that when I was thinking about Indigenous knowledge systems, it's almost like we have to go back. We have to remember. We have to remember who we are and where we come from. But AI is asking us to go to places we haven't been. So that's kind of what I'm contending with, that binary system of going back and going forward, the past and the future working together. So I'll start with this first image. It's just an installation at Richmond Art Gallery, having a solo exhibition right there. And so this is a painting. It's an oil painting on a wall that I painted a mural on. And I did use AI to create some of the imagery. So what we're looking at is these forms here on the wall are based off of images of a compound called Paclitaxel. And Paclitaxel is found in yew trees, and it's actually in chemotherapy as well. So using AI to find out what are the specific unique medicinal qualities of the plants that are indigenous here, and then making images off them. And then we have these two figures that was done with my cousin Callie Van Stone of these two figures here. And so the work is called Together with Paclitaxel. So I'm asking us to be together with the land and the micro elements of that land. So maybe we can go to the next image. And so the same with this one. So this image is called Lithium over a forest fire. So I was using AI to help find images of lithium under a microscope. And then I was making pictographic images within the style of the Columbia River historically to show that image. And then underneath it, I was looking at pictures of forest fires. And so my messaging here is that we have these ecological crises that we're going through, like forest fires. And at the same time, we're having a rise in mental health crisis and a toxic drug supply crisis, all issues with the mind. And what I'm trying to say is that what we're experiencing in the climate is also what humans are going through, because I'm trying to get us to remember that we are part of the land and that we are part of this ecosystem, and we cannot separate ourselves from it as much as we can. Everything on this earth is together. And so when we have these crises in the ecosystem, humans are going to feel that at our core as well. And we're going to see rise in mental health crisis or drug addiction or all sorts of that. So we have to remember that what happens out there is going to happen to us in our bodies too. So that's Lithium over a forest fire. And then there's a whole series based off other drugs at the Richmond Art Gallery as well. And so I was using AI to look at these microscopic images and create forms. So, like this one. Yeah, so this one again is, this is based off of Paclitaxel again, because Paclitaxel is found in yew trees here, but then it's also in the Kootenays, which is the far reach of the SælilwətaЛ Nation, where my great-great-great-grandmother was close to. And so that's her image on the bottom. And then there's a large photo mural that takes up the whole wall at the gallery as well. So then, oh, this one's fun. This is a good segue. Maybe we'll stop at this image for a while. But so this one is called micromedicine. And so I was looking at the mycelium network that trees use to communicate to each other, because we know now that trees, they send warning signals to each other, and they work together to warn each other or communicate. And so using AI, I was looking at different images based on that mycelium network. And then I just painted it. And then I put an image of my grandma because we believe as Coast Salish people that our ancestors are really connected to the cedar tree. And that's because a long time ago, when we died, they would go into the tree. And in the interior, on my mother's side of the family as well, they would bury a loved one at a tree. And so in the trees, they recycle air as well, and they help us in that sense with our air too. So this painting is called In the Air. The other one was called In the Air. This one's the micromedicine, but it's getting us to think about like how everything is interconnected, that we never really leave this place. So let's see the next image. Yeah, so this is just straight from AI, the images that we were looking at. So I basically just ask it to look at I ask it to show me the different, mycelium network pieces, components, and then create an image of that. And then I say, okay, can you now help me make this into an image that is based off pictographs found on the Columbia River or Coast Salish pictographs, and then I'll give it reference material that's found in archives. So what's the next image? There we go. This is one too. Paclitaxel. It's found in chemotherapy. And so that's because what has been taught to me from my uncle Shane, who's an elder in our family, is that everything is medicine. You just have to know how to use it. And what I've been telling people is that everything you're touching right now comes from the earth, but we as humans forget that. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that this revitalization of Indigenous knowledge is teaching us to go back and remember who we are and where we come from, or where the wood on these chairs come from, and that it's all connected. So that's kind of like a introduction, but now I'm going to take us a little further. My uncle Neil Eustache once was talking to me on a video chat because he lives in Chuchua, about 5 hours away. And he said, I want to be able to actually know what the tree is saying. And I want to be able to connect to it in that level. And we as First Nations people have always known that we can communicate with trees and that they communicate to each other. And whenever we're struggling, it's been taught to me and many other First Nations, especially Coast Salish people, to go spend time with a tree. And you listen and the tree will tell you things. And it's funny because I was talking to my dad about this idea. I said, well, what if we have to find a way to get people to understand what these plants and animals and the trees are saying, or what the forest is saying? And he looked at me, he said, that tree's just going to tell you to fuck off, right? So I thought that was really funny. And so, yeah, thanks, Dad. But it's funny because he says, well, did you ever he's the one that taught me to just, if you ever need to get energy from a tree, you just go and you put your hands on it and you just sit there and you sit with it. So I'm hoping that all of us here can start to understand our interconnectedness and dependency on the forest, because we are dependent upon it and we will need it. And we need to boost its communication to us, because I think as First Nations people, we know how to talk to it. It's also been taught to me growing up that plants will communicate to us through dreams. So if you spend enough time with plants and you connect to it in a certain way, it'll come to you in a dream and it will start talking to you. I've experienced this myself. It's very strange to see the plant. It's just bizarre. But this is knowledge that we have safeguarded for a long time. And I think we were afraid to share it with you all because we thought we would go crazy. But it is real. And we're now learning about, everyone knows now if you talk to a plant, it grows better. Or, there's even stories of us, and it's still done to this day, that when we go into the land and we harvest a plant, we have to talk to it and we have to even sing to it. We offer it something. at the exhibition at Richmond Art Gallery. I, for 4 nights, would gather wildflowers at nighttime, and I asked them to help me. I would sit with the plants and I would say, please help me. Our world is divided, and I need your help to remind people of the beauty of our world and how to relate to each other better. So, and when you start to connect them in that way, that you feel the burden of them, the burden of taking them and asking for their help. It's kind of like going to your parents and be like, Mom and Dad, can you help me? You know, like, it's like, you know, you need their help, but you're like, kind of like, oh, fuck, you know? It's like that, because what has been shared also is that our creation story is that we all descend from the sky. I wonder if there's is there another image of the sky? No, not that one. No, maybe we don't have. There it is. So we all descend from the sky. And this has probably been a story that's been told all over the world. But the Coast Salish version is that when we descended from the sky, there was this figure, this person called Hals, the transformer. And to teach humans a lesson, and my own personal take on it, is to show that they're better than humans. He turned some people into rocks, into animals, and into plants. So we literally acknowledge that we're all connected. And when you think about life on this earth, we all came from this single cell that first started. And so that's really the main purpose here, is to show that First Nations people have a story that can help humanity as a whole if we can start to honor and respect the integrity and intelligence of what we're trying to share. So now the news story. So like I said, my Uncle Neil Eustache was like, I want to talk to a tree. I've been told my whole life, you got to talk to the plants before you take from them. Or my dad telling me to put my hands on it. Or the Intlapachmach elder Trudy Jack telling me I have to sing to it. Or my friend Megan Thomas, who taught me how to dream with plants. That one was trippy. But so it was pretty late at night, and I was here with Will. There's Will. Say hi, Will. And I just said, I want to know what that tree is saying to that tree. And so we just used AI to sort of create that dialogue. And then from there, I started thinking, there has to be a way for us to actually do this. And if we can get it right and understand the communication and how we as humans interact with it better, the possibilities to regenerate forests could really help us. Because if Indigenous people, we know that if you sing to the plants, they'll grow better. Then we can have a lot of us together, a lot of humans in the forest singing together. And that will help regenerate the forest better, which can help all of us. So I'm not sure, how much time do I have?
I mean, I think there's probably going to be a lot of questions. So if you have more things to say some stuff. But also, we'd love to ask you questions. So whatever you feel like, man.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me just double check my notes. But I think it's pretty overwhelming. I'm talking about like dreaming with plants and sing to the forest and it'll grow better. But this is all starting to be proven by science, what we've known since forever. So what me and Will were working on is we have this, there's all these different chemicals that plants use to communicate with each other. There's all sorts of different things. But there has been studies of how these different networks can communicate to each other, but kind of like focusing on one thing at a time, like the fungal network, for example. But what I'm hoping to achieve is that over time we can use all the different ways that plants to communicate to each other together and focus on that. But then what I need help understanding is, because first we'll have to sort of work with small samples of plants, and then we'll have to sing to see how they respond to the growth. We'll also have to understand how they respond to that. So we'll have to receive a mechanism to sort of interpret the data to give us a message. Can that be translated into human speech? I'm not sure, or English is a major question. But this is what I've been dreaming about with AI. But I guess questions, yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you, Manny. Will, do you want to join us for a sec? I feel like you might have some things to say.
Yeah, Will definitely have things to say. Yeah.
Let's step up here into the light a little bit. Manny, come on up here, right here.
Oh, okay.
Will, come right here.
So Will's been helping me with like a lot of different technical stuff. I don't know if you want to just speak about that.
I like to call myself a puzzler, as many of you are, collecting your knowledge and your experience. And this is something where when Manny was kind of telling me about the idea, I just kind of stopped him and said, give me 30 seconds. And you're onto something. Can we, I think the words anthropomorphically get the message and understand what plants are saying in these different ways? Well, how many different ways are there that plants talk? And now you start looking into taxonomies and the structure of data. And anybody who's been a librarian or worked at one knows the Dewey Decimal System. And as soon as you start expanding out any sort of idea, you get above 12 or 16, you want to start looking for multiple categories. And we've got about 9 different sciences. And the one thing about sciences, I'm sure engineers know this as well, they don't communicate very well between each other. So although individual fields have been explored within realms of understanding, what messages are being sent and what that message means, nobody's actually brought it together. So we started building a taxonomy list using AI and just going through, and it's getting extensive. I know we're looking at some of the categories getting 10,000, different options. But in order to get to that end layer, you start with the field of science and you get to the 9 layers later, the message of going, hey, I need more water. And that's really, kind of where Manny was getting at. And we plugged it in on a forest walk and took 2 pictures of 2 different bushes. And one was indigenous and one was not. And it was quite funny. Here I'm, background Scottish, if you can't tell. And so we're having this conversation as 2 friends, and here are the 2 plants next to each other. And the non-indigenous plant is like, well, I just thought I would grow everywhere because it was so boring before I came along. And it's so great once you but if there's tools that can help people get more connected to nature, is that not a good thing?
Hey, Will, Manny, what do you need right now? You said you came here to share your ideas with us, hoping that you might find some collaborators and stuff. And so what are the things that you feel like if somebody was interested in that or could explore that with you would be the most valuable right now? What do you want to explore?
Well, all partnerships are welcome. We have a phrase in our language, əmin, sənáḥw, all are welcome. And I'll also say, to do this research, we will need sensors to connect to understand the plants, ones that are non-invasive. So anyone that
sensors, yes.
To help us understand the signals better. And funding support as well.
We ain't necessarily the ballers in the room, but we have access to those people. And so I know a lot of you guys are responding to those funding opportunities that I'm putting out there. And when you're looking for grant partners, people to talk to about projects and stuff, maybe you talk to Will, maybe you talk to Manny. These are the types of things that probably have a lot of legs behind them. Manny, switch mics with me. I'm going to take that one out to the world.
Okay.
Well, I don't have to go far. You can finish what you were saying, though.
Very nice. Is this mic on?
It is on.
Okay.
Yep.
Just got to hold it closer.
How do we get a hold of you?
Well, I'll give everyone my phone number.
You're welcome to do so now, but I'll also publish the contact info that you want afterwards.
It's 778. Are you ready?
My phone died, so I can't write it down. But hopefully there's a way that we can do it when I get home. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I have a website. It's just my name, ManuelAxelStrain.com, and there's a contact button there.
ManuelAxelStrain.com.
Yes, ManuelAxelStrain.com.
Perfect.
Anyone else have questions or things they want to contribute to this conversation? Thank you so much.
Manny.
Hey.
Myself is Larissa. My name is Larissa Healy. I don't know if you remember me.
I do.
Girl 23. I just wanted to say I'm so proud of you, and I look forward to collaborating with you again. Manny and I know each other back from the day from doing 150 Canada. We did a giant mural together, and he was the loveliest person you could ever meet, and so inspiring to see you here doing this level. And I'd like to join you again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Questions, provocations, challenges?
Hey, Manny, that's awesome. I feel like so many times there, I was like, well, you just need to take mycelium to talk to the plants. I've done it several times. But I've got
Which could be true.
a film lighting company, and we actually design technology for the film industry. And one of the products we made is called the hypha. And it is because hypha is that mycelium network that allows nature to talk. And this allows all forms of lighting data to pass through it. So it was just funny how that sort of connection was there. But there could be a way. I'm in the middle of trying to hire a new electronics hardware developer. So we might be able to help out in some way with the
Thank you so much.
microcontroller sort of stuff.
Thank you.
That's so cool, man. This whole community is about putting like the little bit extra that you got in the middle and seeing if we can't build something more out of it. So I really appreciate you're a new guy too, man. I appreciate the way you show up.
Matchmaking.
One sec, Misha. You already had your chance.
Yo. Hey, Manny, Chris Lagabay Carpenter. I'm Heltzik. Good to see you here and representing. Lobbing a bit of an Indigenous question at you, which is, thinking about AI, one of the hard things as Indigenous folks is there's protocol, rules, regulations around how we use and deploy our knowledge, whether that's story, song, dance, painting, what have you. And that's kind of like a massive question when we're working with AI. It's like, what do we upload? What's the protocol behind it? And so with the work you're doing, what are the kind of ethics or protocols that you're following when you're putting your work out there, into the world, but also into AI, which there's potential for loss of control, loss of, having your own hands and eyes on it. So what do you think about when you're putting your work out into the world?
It's a major question. I have done an exhibition about this topic itself. It was called Threshold in 2023. Where I intentionally left out the meaning of the exhibition. So all people knew is that they come into the exhibition and I'm asking you not to talk about it, which is fun. But then there was a whole essay that wrote about it. But because it is true that as First Nations people, our intelligence has been appropriated. It's been, I would say, misused in harmful ways. And in addition, if it's not delivered in the right way, then that's how we get these appropriations or misunderstandings or confusions. So with AI, it is hard. Generally, I just sit with the elders that I know in my family. So Shane Point is the elder I consult with usually about these, and he basically just said, well, we need everyone to help. Like, this is what young people need to do, is we have to find a way to make this work. Because the other ethical concern that I thought about with this knowledge extraction that's taking place is, if we're left out of these conversations, does that do us more harm?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna put my. Here we go. One sec. We are getting close to the heart of the matter right here.
So Manny, just as a First Nations, I'm a Cree and Anishinaabe, reaching out with the exact same conversation. When does it become a responsibility where you can blockchain the actual information that we traditionally have, and we have access through that consulting and permission, but there's also general information that stimulates the idea to get there?
Mm-hmm. It's a very good, important topic. So I've actually just programmed most of my AI to have these things in consideration. So there are times where I just ask it and it'll point blank just tell me, I cannot tell you that. So it can be done. It's quite an easy adjustment. Is to just ask it to follow UNDRIP and follow consent, and it will just point blank tell you, I can't tell you that.
I really appreciate this conversation. This qualifies as difficult conversation because so I'm the CTO at the Indigenous Institute with Caroline Hilton, and we're often talking about this tension between what we reveal and share, the tools we use, and protocol and the rest versus like being left behind from all of this stuff. And so like this is the most important conversation in many ways. And I appreciate you having it. Thank you for asking questions, for following on there. Do you have something to contribute to this?
I have a stutter. Hope I get this through. Not long ago, I helped the government of BC determine the value of the dollar value of the commons. So one of the problems we have as a species is the tragedy of the commons, which is there are resources in society that are ephemeral, but have value, but because they are ephemeral, no one has responsibility for them. So I developed a logic tree to express the value of desire of that relationship in there, and that's being used by a local government to invest in watershed assets now. So that nature of desire is attraction between trees and humans and everyone else, and I think there's something in there that might help you. If you want to talk to me, you can come talk to me, or you can look at my LinkedIn profile. I'll give it to you later.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question for Manny? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi. I love the work. It's beautiful. And it's also going back to roots in a way. But there is a difference between communication and intention. Mm-hmm. And I want you to comment on what you've had in terms of thinking about how do you measure intention, because conversation can be very different from what you actually intend. And I know that nature is pretty straightforward, but we're not. And how do you sort of navigate that?
Well, I'll start by saying intention is an incredibly important discussion. So what wasn't shared and isn't shared, and I wish was shared more, when we as Coast Salish people do our welcomings and we welcome people here, traditionally how it's done is you would all have a speaker here and you would approach us and you would tell us your intentions. And then we would say, okay, sounds good. You're good to go. Now it's kind of become this thing where we're like, everyone's welcome. I meet stuff quite quickly. And what is unfortunate about that is that the oral history has taught me that when the settler people came here, they had stated their intentions, but they weren't their true intentions. So this is an issue that Coast Salish people and other interior Salish people, because it's the same protocol, have dealt with since settler people have been here. How do we trust your intentions? And what I've learned is that, it's true, intentions don't always matter. And so that's when I was thinking through this issue, I asked the AI about this project and I said, what are the difficulties navigating this? And this was what was brought up, that we can't actually know if what it is saying is real, and to not think of it necessarily as a direct communication, but as like a collection of data is one way to more think of it. A sample of data that we can try to read, because anything that we ask it to tell us, there's no real way of us actually knowing if this is, because the trees have a lifespan that could be 2,000 years old. So it's hard to say, like, is this like an actual message we're receiving, or is this just kind of doing the equivalent to being like, and then, like, we don't know, because this signal might be like a micro signal and we don't know the whole message. But these are the questions we're trying to figure out. And a lot of it, I would say, knowing that Coast Salish people really value and honoring the concept of honesty and respect, intuitively, this is why we have to be the ones that do this. Because we value that more than I think a greater society. We believe people's intentions, and that's why we have all these people from other places here. That's why we have all this beautiful city here, because we just trusted, we just took your word for it. And we still are. Yeah.
Thank you, Manny. Really appreciate your contribution. I appreciate you being open, coming to us with not your fully baked plan, asking for help. I hope that some of you people follow through with your, connections with Manny and stuff. Jesse, just want you to send us out here on Manny's little piece.
This is what I love the most about what I do, is hearing artists' visions and then finding a community to help raise that vision into reality, just like Manny was saying that we did with this city. So please join us. We're not sure what all the partnerships look like, but it's a really exciting project, and it's beautiful to have it in the lands and waters where we live. It's reminding me of a couple of projects that I've been following along for a couple of years now, which include kind of an AI almanac for navigating Indigenous territories in what is now called Russia, that's starting back in 2017. Or there's a beautiful project coming out of Germany called Terra Zero, which is a self-managing forest where it manages its own needs. It has a crypto-economic background. It can decide to log itself enough to just pay for its maintenance so it won't burn down, those sorts of things. So if you can think about how these projects could connect with something like with what Manny is building, there's a whole world out there that we can start to connect.
Let me tell you, the curator is earning his keep tonight, contextualizing your project in the whole wide world of what's going on out there. Thank you so much for coming here, buddy. Thank you, Jesse.